Is your family farm's future uncertain? Silence may be the biggest risk of all. Discover how open conversations and gradual planning can secure your legacy and empower the next generation. Don't wait, start the dialogue today. Learn more and download a transition planning checklist at fcc.ca/knowledge.
Okay, let's talk about one of the big issues I think that's happening right now in the markets. You've heard us mention it the past number of weeks, and it seems like over a month now, is concern about where is China when it comes to not canola. That's a whole other issue in Canada. What about American soybeans? It has been a real lack of buying and a lot of concern from a lot of farmers and the industry. Joining us right now is Scott Metzger. He is a farmer from Ohio. He is also VP of the American Soybean Association. Scott, it's great to have you on the show.
Hey, thank you, Shaun. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. So you farm in Ohio. Just quickly, how are the crops?
What we've been in so far has yielded well. We've got about 550 acres of beans, and they've been in the low 60s. So we're pretty pleased with that. This spring was really wet in Ohio, so we had some early planted, and then the rest was all planted last of May or 1st of June. And I'm assuming they're probably going to be in that probably mid 40 range to upper 40s probably on it. They'll be a little bit less than what our early ones were. We just hit a dry spell there starting in August, and we actually didn't get hardly any rain August and until last night. We finally got a couple inches, but prior to that, from April 1st to August 1st, we had 37 inches of rain, which is like a normal amount for our growing season for us.
Wow.
That we had just in a short period of time. So we were way wet early.
Yeah.
So
No
a
kidding.
lot of replants and all kinds of fun stuff.
The joys of farming, my friend. The joys of farming, and we get it off
That's
the
right.
we get it off the field, and then we got to try to market it, and that's
Yeah.
why we're talking here. I guess, how concerned are you right now that we just have seen a total lack of buying from China
Well,
on the American bean crop?
yeah, it's a huge concern. Usually by August, they've bought, somewhere in that range of 5 million metric tons, and as of right now, we've got zero sold to them, and they're currently starting to shop for December. And with the 20% tariff that's on them, that it's making us very uncompetitive with South America. So it's in a very alarming factor. Each day this goes on, it gets worse and worse for us. Prior to 2018, when we went through this before, we were in a little better shape with
Yeah.
prices and stuff. And this time around, we're already starting with some relatively low prices compared to back then.
Yeah, and a lot of times, we follow this through the futures market, but what I've been hearing from a lot of producers is concern about the local basis. What have you been seeing locally?
Yeah, so locally for us, our basis is in that 40 to 45 cent range currently, which is probably it's a little bit higher than what it normally is. Big concern, especially for the Midwest or the upper Midwest, the North Dakotas, South Dakotas, Wisconsin area. A lot of basis up there is a buck 65, buck 85 right now because nothing's moving out of the PNW. But I would say as harvest progresses here, that basis for us is going to widen a little bit more, and even going out into January, they're not where they usually are. So, that's just another factor that adds on to a problem we've already got.
Yeah, and if you look at the size of the soybean crop and the size traditionally of the purchases that China makes, there's not a lot of other customers of that size that are right around the corner where, hey, what about us right now? That's another challenge.
Right, it is. You take what China buys and take all the other countries that buy beans, and it doesn't even add up to what China buys. So it's a huge concern.
Yeah. From a farm profitability standpoint, we've heard a lot from a lot of different market analysts. Obviously, there's a lot of concern about farm profitability right now,
Hmm.
specifically, in the Midwest on corn and soybeans. There's also talk about some ad hoc programming in the back half of the year. Is American Soybean Association in support of there being some additional farm programming?
Well, we want our main thing to be on trade. That's where we want to see a trade deal done. We don't want to farm from our mailbox. That's just taking a Band-Aid and put it on a gushing wound. It's basically would be a pass through with it. Um, there's been some talks for a marketing package with it, but this just in just some talks is it. But our main focus is we want to stick with, let's get a trade deal done, let's get these tariffs knocked off there, and let's get some beans moving.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody yesterday where we were saying, it looks like there was that phone call last week, President Xi and President Trump. Most of it seemed to be about TikTok. There wasn't a lot.
Yeah,
There was,
right.
right there was, which maybe has. I don't know. It's got my wife happy and my kids are excited.
Right,
But
as I say, my kids are excited. Yeah, but I was hoping maybe we could discuss some soybeans on, or some trade with that, and maybe not so much TikTok.
yeah, so they're going to be meeting at the APEC meeting. But you like you mentioned, we're getting to the when we're talking November, December, we're getting really close to the back end of the window in Q1 of 26, where they
Right.
easily move to the South American bean crop.
Well, yeah, that's just it. You get into that January, February time frame, and yeah, they're going to be taking beans off down there, and that's, I don't know. It's like I said, it's a very big concern for us as to what's, we need to get a trade deal done of something.
Yeah, what are you hearing on that front, Scott? Like, when you say we would need to get a trade deal done, would you be, personally for you as a farmer in Ohio, would you like that to be like the phase one deal we saw in the first Trump administration, or what? Just reduce the
Even
noise of the tariffs, or what do you want to see?
actually a combination of both, or even the phase two part of it, because the phase one of it really didn't follow all the way through with it. But either one, and then get to take the tariffs off of it. I mean that just puts us at an economic disadvantage with South America having those tariffs on there, and even everything else. I mean, even our inputs. You mentioned earlier about the economics. Our input prices right now. We just got some wheat fertilizer prices, some fall fertilizer prices. They're actually as high as what they were, especially the phosphates, when we were at $6 corn and $13-14 beans. So it's everything that we're doing has got a substantial increase on it.
Yeah, and that's one of the fears about ad hoc programming too, is that's if there's a bunch of money that flows into the farmer's hand, does that really reduce the demand for fertilizer, and do those prices come down? That's another concern here about that programming.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, because basically, for the most part, it's going to be a pass through, whether it goes to fertilizer, or, whether it goes on your operating loan, whether it goes to cash rent. It's not like you're taking that money and putting it in a savings account or whatever. It's basically just a pass through. That, I think that's why we are focusing so much on trade and getting a trade deal done with it, because at the end of the day, that's what we really want.
Yeah. It is early, but how do you see this kind of impacting 26 acres? Did more people move into corn and out of bean? Like, what happens?
Well, I think at least in our own operation, we probably will not change that many acres around, but I think you will see certain parts of the U.S. that could have a shift in acres. If there's no trade deal done, if the tariffs are still on, if we're doing this as we get closer into March, or some of the southern states planting earlier, but that end of February, beginning of March, yeah, I think you could see a pretty big shift in acres with it.
Yeah, and this is pretty widespread. It's not like there's there is a lot of U.S. ag commodities. Of course, there's a big population in the U.S., so the domestic consumption can happen, but it's not like getting some relief on the biofuel front. There's a lot of talk about SAF and renewable diesel. That would kind of chew up a little bit of the supply.
And it would, and we were happy with the RVOs and the number they came out with it.
Yep.
But still, that's not even a fraction of the bucket of what we could do, what we trade with China on a yearly basis.
Yeah. Well, hey, Scott, I really appreciate it. Hopefully, maybe we get a chance to catch up at Commodity Classic. I'm going to be down there
absolutely.
in the spring. Yeah, it's great to meet you, and hey, all the best to you during this harvest. Okay.
Hey, thank you. Have a great day.